Well, good morning and welcome to another Wednesday conversation. Today we're talking about, talking and when to zip it up. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever walked away from a meeting and thought, "Oh, I talked way too much in that meeting," and not in a good way? Not like you were commanding the conversation or the discussion and it was just a very robust conversation. Not like that. More like you made your presentation or you presented your points and you just kept talking. You added more information when no more information was needed. You added clarifications and you added context, but none of that was needed. And when all of that was over, you just circled back and started making the same points over again. When I put this episode together, I cringed because I think back on my TV career and I did just that. I over explained. I just couldn't help myself. Before we get into the discussion, I want to welcome anybody who is coming here for the first time. I'm Constance Howard. I'm an executive coach for women who are 55 and older, accomplished women who are challenged with confidence issues and maybe limiting beliefs. And every week I have an episode that deals with an issue that I hope will empower women to lead their best lives and to make whatever changes they need in their lives. Okay, back to over explaining. Um, as I said, I did this in my former career. And it wasn't until I was decades into my career did I realize that I over explained. And I was like the ever ready bunny. I just kept going. And I don't know if you've ever found yourself in that kind of situation. I know that other female colleagues and leaders have often over explained themselves. Perhaps it's happened to you, not just in business, but at home when you're talking to your children and a decision you've made becomes, something else. That's the problem with over explaining. It's that your decisions become negotiations and they become debates. And suddenly, the things that you knew or know that you want to do, that you've decided to do, become changed. They become altered to suit the people around you. And so you soften your words and you because you don't want to come across as harsh, you soften your words and you hesitate a little bit, but then you go right back into your over explaining. You present the same material again, hoping that this time around people will understand where you're coming from. And this, again, not again, but this isn't about you not knowing your material. This isn't about you not being able to make a well thought out decision. For me, like a lot of other women, this is all about a feeling inside that you're not being heard, that your thoughts are being dismissed. And so you start explaining again, as I said, hoping that they'll get it. But it doesn't usually turn out that way. What happens is that the debate and the negotiations intensify. And the worst part about it is over time, this behavior becomes normal. This cycle of explaining and over explaining it feels normal and expected. And so you adapt your behavior and you adapt your leadership skills to this whole cycle of trying to convince people that something that you've decided is valid. I remember I had a former client who was an executive director of a foundation, and she was dealing with a tough employee, and she wanted her to come to the weekly staff meeting. And here's how she softened her tone and her words. What she said to the person was, uh, "What would you think about coming to the weekly staff meeting?" She said that instead of saying, "Please plan on coming to the weekly staff meeting." Do you see the difference? One way, "Please come to the weekly staff meeting," is a decision. There's no option in it. But her saying, "What would you think about coming to the weekly staff meeting?" It opened the issue up for debate when there should not have been a debate. But my client genuinely wanted this person to feel included and welcomed, and so she softened her tone. She softened her tone, and she gave her client more power in that situation than she should have. My client, with her words being, "What would you think about coming to the weekly staff meeting?" really weakened her position. And I'm sure that you can hear the difference between the two statements. One invites a discussion, and one is a decision. So I want you to think about some of the words that you use. Do you say things like my client did, "What would you think about?" Do you say things like, "I was just thinking," or maybe you say, "Maybe we could do whatever." We soften our words because we don't want to seem harsh or difficult, and we want everybody to feel included. But listen to me clearly when I say this to you. Leadership requires that you make decisions and that you communicate them clearly. And clarity does not mean harsh, and clarity does not mean that you exclude people. And women, I know you know what I mean because you lead teams, you make big decisions, you face big challenges, and you make the right decisions. None of that is new to you. None of that was new to me. And there's nothing more that you need to prove. You've accomplished. You've already demonstrated that you are a good leader, and you don't have to over explain to get validation from other people, right? So instead of saying, "What do you think about this?" say, "This is the direction that we're going to go in." Allow your words to be clear and grounded and firm, and then silence. Don't over explain. Don't apologize. Don't try to justify. Just clarity. After decades of working in your field, after decades of experience, you've earned the right to trust yourself, to trust that you don't need to be second guessed. You don't need to negotiate with others, and you don't need to debate your decisions. So I have a question for you. When do you soften your tone and over explain? I want you to think about that because that will be your first step in turning it around. You're not going to be able to break this habit overnight. You'll be in a meeting and you'll catch yourself doing it. And then my suggestion to you is just to stop. Once you've made a firm decision, announce your decision and move forward. Now, I know that some people are probably thinking, well, when do you reach out to others, and when do this whole idea of making a decision and not over explaining, this does not give others an opportunity to weigh in. But usually, ladies, I know that once you make a decision, you've already done your due diligence. You've already researched and reached out and thought about it. Your decisions are not, you don't come to them lightly. And you need to trust that you have done your due diligence and that what you say is what you mean and what the best course of action for you and for those around you, those who you lead. You're a leader for a reason. And it's time for you to step into that leadership, not only with your title and the pay, but with your words and with your actions. Don't over debate. So I want you to put it in the comments. Where do you think that you over explain a decision? Put it in the chat where you think, or give me an example of how you have invited negotiations when that's not what you wanted. You wanted the person to walk away knowing that you had made a firm decision. Let me know what you're thinking, because I would love to help you if you're being challenged in this area. And click the subscribe button and hit the bell so you'll be notified when any new videos are posted. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.